guys, it's Maya, and we are back with episode 2 of It's Just Fucking Therapy. I have some exciting news. So, I just applied for my temporary license so I can, do therapy for real now. But I'll be getting my official license fairly soon. And just keep in mind, these are not therapy sessions, just discussions and interviews. So today I have here with me the lovely Anna.
Hi.
Anna, would you like to tell the people a little bit about yourself?
My name is Anna. I moved to Arizona about 2 years ago from Wisconsin. Maya is my roommate and friend, and I am so grateful to have met her and to be a guest on the show today.
Thank you. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And guys, I don't have just exciting news for me. Anna is 6 months sober. 6 months sober. I commend you on that. I know that was
Thank you.
probably challenging or hard. So can you tell me a little bit about your sobriety and what got you on this path and journey?
Yeah. So initially, I would drink just like everybody else. I started at about 15, had my crazy party days. I did take a 3-month break in 2019, right before COVID happened. I had gotten alcohol poisoning, and I was going to the bars underage. I had a fake ID, just like everybody, does.
Doing what we do.
And I grew up in a college town. I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, very big party city. So after I got alcohol poisoning, I was like, okay, it's time to take a little break. Definitely push my limits there. And then I drank again on my 21st birthday, and then I just kind of didn't really stop after that. I went through a lot of trauma in that time, and alcohol was one of the ways that I was releasing. And then in October of this past year, 2022, I got a DUI.
Okay.
My blood alcohol was 0.288, which is extremely high.
Extremely, y'all. Extremely.
And I was lucky enough that, I didn't hurt anyone or hurt myself. But to me, that was my sign. I had been asking for one for a while.
Okay.
And that was my sign that you need to stop. Otherwise, it's going to only get worse from here.
Right. Because, I had talked to you about this before, and I think that especially with our generation and our age range, we think drinking and driving is cute. That shit is cute. I used to brag on that stuff all the time looking back on it. When I was 18, 19, in my college days, just oh yeah, I got home safely. I got everyone in my car home safely. I can drink and drive. I've never hit anyone. I've never killed anyone, but that's not a flex. And I want people to understand that too. That's not a flex. That's nothing to brag on, because we are 23. We're young. We have a bright future, so much ahead, for us and in store for us. And your life can alter and change at the slip of a moment, just like that.
Blink of an eye. And, usually it's not your first time drinking and driving that you get caught, you know.
Okay.
I had done it before, and especially in the industry that I work in, I'm a server in Old Town Scottsdale. I know a lot of people with DUIs in Arizona. It's definitely not something that you ever want to go through. The punishment is really harsh here, understandably so. Drinking and driving is not the move ever.
Right.
I was lucky enough that even in my drunken state, I realized how fucked up I was, and I decided to pull over. And I was actually found unconscious, slumped over my wheel with the car in park.
Okay.
Someone else saw me, called the police. The police, came to check on me, and I didn't even wake up until they opened the door. They were shining their flashlights in my car, and I got out of the car. And one thing I will say, I recently actually watched the body cam footage, and
Okay.
I will say it was kind of funny when the police officer asked me how he thought I did on my sobriety test. I said, well, I fucking failed.
Right. Yeah.
And then they said, yeah, we're going to take you to jail.
Right. And I'm sure you weren't expecting that. Granted, you know, you probably went into your shift prior to or just was out clubbing, drinking with friends, you know, doing what we all do. And, you know, we take one or two turns into 10 or 12, 10 or 12 sometimes, and you genuinely think you're okay. Like, you think that because you do it so often, you're still capable and okay enough to get behind the wheel like this. And, you know, like we were just saying, it all it takes is just that one time.
Exactly.
That one time, and you can seriously, you know, hurt yourself or hurt someone else. And I also think that, like, just like what led into that probably for you, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is just how you choose to cope and handle things, right?
Correct,
okay.
yes.
Okay. So, like, what does coping look like for you, like, prior to the DUI?
Prior to the DUI, I was drinking a lot. Honestly, I was blacking out a lot, and I was never a casual drinker. Like, I never drank every day. I never had a physical dependence on alcohol, but I do think I had an issue with alcohol.
Okay.
When I started drinking, like, I couldn't just have one. Like, I was like, what's the point of having one drink?
I need more than that. You're not feeling it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's an anxiety thing too. You know, you have that false sense of like, oh, I have less anxiety. Like, I can talk to people.
Yeah.
But I've honestly found in my sobriety that I have less anxiety because I'm not hungover all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I go out and meet people, it's because they like me for me.
For you, right. And you know how we used to be. I mean, like, we used to come in the apartment, whether it was together or separate, just coming in, like, stumbling, fumbling, hitting things with our vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, not people, but hitting things with our vehicle. Just coming in, like, so tore up, so messed up. And the after effect of it the next day, you know, you're waking up. And I told you, I get the anxiety blues. I wake up so sad and depressed. And I'm like, I can't believe I just did this. But at that given point in time, it's like, I don't care. I'm about to go back out and do it again. It's like, whatever. But I also feel like the reason for doing that is because I didn't want to face what I had going on. I didn't want to take it for face value.
Yes.
Like, whatever I'm trying to suppress or that I don't want to deal with at hand, I'm going to handle it by drinking. I'm going to handle it by doing shrooms. I'm going to handle it by having sex. And ultimately, it doesn't lead to
it's
good
the numbing
things for
effect.
us. Yeah.
And it's a numbing effect to the point where you're not present in your life. You're not acknowledging any of the things you're doing. And then there's a cleanup process after.
Yeah.
Where you disassociated for that long, and now you're in the present moment. You're like, shit.
Yeah.
Now I got to face everything that I did when I didn't care about my life or who I was hurting.
Yep. And keep in mind, you said 15. So a lot of us, we did start drinking at 15, 16. So we're about to be 24 this year. That's 8-9 years later. So drinking for 8 or 9 years and not taking any type of break in between, we don't have room to, like, really grow or to learn ourselves or to develop, essentially. We don't know ourselves outside of alcohol, outside of sex, outside of drugs. And, you know, like I said, that just doesn't lead to healthy coping skills. So anytime we go through something, it's like, okay, well, fuck it, I'm about to go get a bottle. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm about to go have sex.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to ease the pain somehow. So.
And I was really big on, you know, like, I had a lot of sex when I was trying to cope with something too. I was just like, I want to feel something, but I still want to numb what I'm going through. And when I took away the drinking, I took away the other bad coping skills as well.
Good.
The common denominator was the alcohol.
Right.
I'm not just going to go out to a club and hook up with someone when I'm sober.
Right.
Like,
right.
Y'all give me the it for real.
Right. You're really not like that. Yeah.
And when you take that away, it's like, even when I go out now, I'm like, the way these men approach women, I cannot imagine being like, yeah, I'm going to go home with you.
Yeah. And you know, when we go to these clubs now sober, we're so quick and ready to leave. We're like, you see, like, yourself through another lens. You're like, ew. Is this how I acted? Y'all are pissing me off. I don't want to be around you. I really don't like y'all. You know, the night isn't as enjoyable. And granted, I do feel like you can have fun sober. You should be able to go out. You should be able to see your friends, go to places, do things, go to events sober. But I also get in the same token, it's not the same. It's just that instant gratification feeling. Like, you know, like I got the alcohol, I got the rush, my adrenaline, like it's a feel good thing. So I have been able to, you know, like witness and see how you've been able to like just be out sober and stuff. So I definitely commend you on that because I'm sure it's tough.
Thank you. It is hard sometimes. And navigating sobriety at such a young age is definitely hard. You know, I have a really good support system and I do feel really supported with the people in my life. But I still have people, you know, like even at work or, you know, they're like, oh, you'll drink again. Like once you stop feeling guilty about the DUI, like, and I'm like, you don't understand. Not drinking has transformed my life in ways that I never thought possible.
Right. Yeah. And then those are just the people you weed out too. It's like if you,
absolutely.
you know, if you gonna be negative and you're not gonna support what I have going on, I don't want you around me anyway. Yeah. And I do feel like that is probably something that happens at the beginning of sobriety. And let me know, you know, if that happened for you too. But like when you first announce your sobriety path, like I'm done drinking, I quit, you get those naysayers or those people that are laughing. Like you'll be right back at it next week. You'll be back at it tomorrow. Just, you know, being doubtful, not believing in you. And then like, you know, like you said, that support system, the ones who genuinely want to see you thrive and win, they will stick it out with you. And they, you know, they won't try to like get you to drink or, you know, just like, just take this one shot, Anna, just do this, just do that. So
I feel like my vibration overall has just, you know, raised, and I feel like I attract people now who are on that same journey of healing and doing better for themselves.
That's good. That's good. And I want people to know you can't have a healthy relationship with alcohol. Now, I am an addictions therapist. There is no such thing as a healthy relationship with alcohol. You either don't have one at all or you have like a really shitty one. Like you can try to have a good one, but it's not likely to happen. So,
and it's just like, I feel like I wasn't always the type of person that blacked out either. You know, like I drank heavily, but it wasn't to the point of blacking out. One traumatic event happens and that pushes you over. Yeah. And now you're like, I don't want to feel this at all. And I'm already doing this thing that's like feeling okay in the moment. So I'm going to continue to do it.
Either way, yeah. It's just like it's a cycle. It's like you want to break that cycle, but you don't know where to start. And a lot of people don't know where to start either. Like, as you know, I've done my detoxes, my monthly detoxes. I'm like, I'm going a month without alcohol. I'm going some days. And then next thing you know, I'm getting invited to someone's birthday dinner or to a trip out of town. And I never felt strong enough to say no. Granted, there has been times where I would say no, but I would really sit back with myself and be like, one day I went through my camera roll and I'm like, damn, there's not a day or a month in this camera roll of photos where I have not had a drink. And I like went all the way back to like 2020. I'm like, there's not one full month in this camera roll where I didn't have a drink, a sip of wine, something. And I was like, that's sad. Like, that's just, you know, that's not good mentally, physically. Like, all of that is detrimental in a sense. So yeah, I'm learning now, and you know, I definitely cut back and I eased on it, so I do know how to limit myself. So like if I'm going to birthday dinners, graduations, or like celebrating, you know, like things like this, the podcast, I will limit myself to one or two. But as far as that every Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing, it's dead to me. We be in the crib, yeah. We be knocked out. The work shifts be getting us. Yeah. And I also feel like when you are busy, it takes away that boredom aspect. You're not looking to, you know, you're not looking to drink. You're not looking to do certain things. It's like you already have developed better coping habits. So I also want to know too, like, what does healthy coping habits look like for you?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I feel like is a continual search.
Okay.
Like, I enjoy hiking. I enjoy, you know, being outside, hanging out with my friends, reading, watching a movie. But I do think sometimes, you know, even in sobriety, like my mental health isn't always the best, you know, and going to the gym or going on a hike seems really hard, and just laying in bed feels better.
Yeah.
And I just try to look at it as a way of like, okay, I'm listening to my body. My body's telling me I need to rest.
Yeah.
I am still struggling sometimes with coping. I was actually just talking to one of my coworkers about this. Work has been really stressful lately, and it's busy season at the moment, just with spring training and, you know, Super Bowl, all of that. So it's been very busy, very stressful, very chaotic. And last busy season, I was drinking a lot. And although it wasn't healthy, I was releasing in some way.
Okay.
And now this busy season, I found myself more agitated, more irritable, you know, just because I haven't been releasing in that same way. Like I, you know, come home after work and I go to bed or I watch a movie. So that's something that I'm really trying to work on. Stretching is really good for me. Like I always have a better day when I wake up and I stretch or do some yoga.
I pull that yoga mat out and I feel good, but I'm not consistent with it.
Right.
Because it's like I can be consistent with alcohol. I can get up. I can go get a drink. I can go get me a little shot, happy hour, Sunday, fun day. But it's like when it comes to the betterment of myself, I'm not going to put that much time and dedication into it, and I don't like that. You know, like about me, and I'm sure a lot of people are like that too. Like, we can easily go, you know, get a drink, take a shot, but it's like when it's time to implement those new habits in a better way, it's like we push it on the back burner. Like, I'm going to get around to it when I want to.
Exactly, and I feel like a lot of it is just a direct reflection of your mental health, too.
Of course.
And I mean, like, you know, getting up and doing yoga might seem impossible, but it helps so much.
Yeah.
Like the days that I actually take care of myself, I eat breakfast, I get up, I have a great day usually. Yeah. But it is hard. It's hard to be consistent when that motivation goes away. Right. It's more about discipline.
That's what it is. It's that disciplinary action that you gotta take. Yes. And that's the same just as far as like your diet and your lifestyle too. You know, like it's like you can eat right, you can do well, you can go to the gym, but if you down in shots like every other day, and I be seeing some of my followers on Instagram and I'm like, okay, gym girly, you in the gym, you lifting weights, and then you over here posting lemon drops, and I'm like, okay, we got to find a little better balance. But you know, to each its own, because there's nothing wrong with drinking, and I want to make that clear. There's nothing wrong with drinking, especially at this age. Like, live your life, do you, but do it in moderation. Drink in moderation, be mindful, and don't do it to the point where it's going to jeopardize relationships with other people in your life and your relationship with yourself too.
Absolutely. I think one of the best things you can do if you are drinking is set intention with it. You know, if you're going to be drinking, have it be for a celebration, a birthday, something positive. Because as soon as you start being like, oh, I had a shitty shift, I'm going to go get fucked up, or this person in my life just died, I'm going to go get fucked up, that's when things can go from good to bad really quickly.
Right. Yep.
And if you have those intentions, like, okay, this is, you know, we're celebrating this person, putting good out, you'll get that back. But when you're just putting, you know, that negativity and that bad out, and then you're consuming something that's a depressant, that's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form.
So it's just like already having that mindset, basically. Like, you know, like I know I'm about to go out. I know I'm about to do this. So let me limit myself. Let me do it in moderation. Yes. And I think that's a really hard skill to develop, especially when you're not at that stage in your life. Because I know for me, when I was at that crazy drinking stage, I didn't care about any of that. Like I said, you know, I was bragging on it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was cool. Like, I'm getting fucked up every night. Like, okay, partying till 5 a.m, going to my 8 a.m. class. Like, just living a life, because that's the life that I wanted to live and I thought was the life for me. And it only took, like, you know, until recently, like probably a year or two ago, that it really resonated with me. Like what my mom and dad would say, like, Maya, there's no way you can be an addictions therapist and you're out getting fucked up the way you do every night. Like, what are you telling these people that you're essentially trying to help? Like, it's hypocritical. How can you sit here and indulge in these toxic behaviors every other night, every weekend, And then you go sit up in these people's face and, you try to treat them and help them. And I had to really think about that too. And as far as posting on social media as well, like I would post shots and alcohol, all types of stuff like crazy. Like that's not even on my news feed anymore. It's just like, therapeutic things. Like, granted, I still drink, but like I'm trying to retract from that image. Like, I don't want that to be me long term.
And like, even every time I've been with you that you have drank, like you've never overdone it. Like
I've been trying.
Yeah, you've been doing such a good job.
Thank you.
You really have.
Thank you. But that, that doesn't mean still that I have good coping skills.
Right.
It's like, I know I do well now, and actually my coping skills are really shitty, and I'm still trying to learn how to cope through certain things. And just aside from, alcohol and sex, because I removed that from my life. Like, I removed alcohol, not fully, but I removed it from my life. I removed sex from my life. Like, I wanted to like fast, detox, remain abstinent, just so I can get better mental clarity and learn myself. But essentially, like, if I'm not implementing coping skills, healthy coping skills, none of that matters, because as because you're in my close friends, and my mom called you around the time that it happened, that I tried to take my life a month ago. Granted, everybody thinks like I have it all the way put together. Like, I got the car, I got the degrees, I got the job. It's like none of that matters if I'm not okay mentally. Like, I don't want to be here. I can't be here to help people if I can't help myself. And that's all because I never developed healthy coping skills. So I wanted a way out. I wanted to be gone. I didn't even want to be here. Like, I was like, I'm done. Like, every single day I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Aside from drinking and smoking and clubbing, because I wasn't even doing that. I was just, sulking in my own depression because I didn't know how to implement those new healthy coping skills. I had them. I just didn't know how to put them forth. And that led to those depressive thoughts. Like, I don't want to be here. I want to die. And eventually it got to that point and I acted on it. Yeah. So, now I'm at the point where I'm trying now, because I promised the people in my life and, the people that came to stay with me, that I will try to develop coping skills and actually put them forth. And so, I mean, it's not the greatest. Like, like you said, I'll hike, I'll do yoga, I'll do little stuff, but it can be better. It's just, absolutely, things are tough, like in our lives, like especially at this age, things are tough. And trying to cope properly, it's not an easy thing to do.
Which, first of all, I'm so grateful that you are here.
Thank you.
And that you're still doing therapy. And I think it's important to, realize that just because you're a therapist doesn't mean that you have to be okay. And it's okay to not be okay, And the fact that you can recognize that in yourself, that's so important. And like seeing those warning signs before anything else can progress.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad, that you came and like you came to the rescue, because, like I'm so closed off and I'm learning to be more open now. And, I'm open and transparent with like certain people, which is not that many people. But I also feel like I can't be in this field, like I can't be a mental health advocate and I'm not hitting on the highs and lows too. Because I can sit here and hit on the highs all day about mental health, but there are so many lows too. And, I just want people to know, like it's okay to not be okay. Yeah. And at a point in time for months, I wasn't okay. And like I said, I acted on it. But, like we were saying, having that support system, implementing those new skills, like all of those things help. But, I just couldn't do it at that point in time. And I don't ever want to be, that kind of therapist that sugarcoats and doesn't like give people the real spiel or be transparent. So when I did decide to open up about the suicide and my close friends, like a lot of people were like, like, I'm happy you're here. Thank you for being alive. But also a big majority of it was like, I appreciate you advocating and speaking on this, because it needs to be talked about. It needs to be heard. And I was like, I'm sorry if I trigger anyone, but I want everyone to know, like, this is why I haven't been responding to your calls and texts. I'm not okay, but, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to try. I mean, not saying that it's something I want to do, but eventually I got to that point where it was something I wanted to do. Yeah. So it's getting a little better now. It's just like a one day at a time thing. Yeah. I'm definitely not in the headspace that I was in last month, but still, it's like it happened. Right. It can happen to anyone. And I feel like all of that was a buildup from the alcohol, from the shrooms, from the sex. and, you know, just essentially drowning in that. And it's like, damn, I don't do any anymore. So what do I do now? And then it's like, okay, I don't know any healthy things to do now, and I'm still depressed and sad, so I might as well be gone. But
I think that's the hardest thing too, is being self-aware in your self-sabotage.
oh,
Like,
yes,
you know that you're doing this to yourself, but you can't stop
right,
because it's
yeah.
addicting.
It is.
You're addicted to that feeling, that cycle.
Yeah.
And, you know, then especially when it comes to, you know, drugs, alcohol, it can completely alter the way you look as well.
Yes.
I was 30 pounds heavier when I was drinking. I lost 30 pounds just from cutting out alcohol in my life.
Yeah.
But I was also drowning in my body image issues when I was drinking, but I was also a little delusional. Because, like, looking back, I'm like, damn, I was really that big? That's crazy. And my face was so bloated, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gained so much weight from alcohol. Like, I always reflect back and look at my pictures, and I'm like, ew, I used to be so much smaller than this. But, like, I'm happy that it happened. I'm happy I went through that phase. I'm happy I drank crazily. I smoked. I had sex. I did whatever, because I don't want to be in my, you know, mid-20s doing it now. So I'm like, you know, we talk about this all the time. We're like, we're glad we started this shit at 16, sneaking around, being wild, doing whatever we wanted.
Young.
Yeah, you learn these lessons young. Not saying that any of you 16-year-olds should be doing that, but it shaped us for early adulthood, wouldn't you?
Did.
Like, yeah.
It did. I feel like you and I and a lot of people in my life that I've chosen to be in my life now, we're just a lot more mature. Like, we're at a point where we want to better ourselves. We, you know, we encourage each other to do better. Mm-hmm. And that's so important.
It is. We need those healthy bonds, healthy relationships. And, you know, that's why, you know, when I text you and I was like, let's have a vision board party. I'm like, you know, like any other time, if I would have texted you a year ago, let's do something, it's let's go get fucked up.
Right.
You know, now it's like, let's have a vision board party. You know, like let's learn ourselves and let's set these new goals and boundaries for ourselves in a healthy way. Like, and you know, that's a good way to cope too. You know, having these type of vision board parties, Galentine's nights, hiking, you know, the little things that we do as is, you also get to learn yourself through other people too, through other relationships. And I didn't even learn that until recently. Like, knowledge is never ending. Knowledge is powerful. But it's like you think that you know yourself and you've learned so much about yourself until, you know, God placed this new person in your life. And it's like you're learning a new entity of you, essentially. So, you know, I appreciate, that's why I appreciate you getting me out of the house, out of the bed. You know, you invited me into your friend group, all of you guys getting me out, because as you know, like, I was sulking in that room. Like, I didn't want to get out. And, you know, I thought that was cool at a point too. Like, oh, you know, like, I'm a homebody. I don't go anywhere. I just be in my room all day. Like, isolation and solitude. Like, are you enjoying the solitude or are you sulking in isolation? Because to me, in my head, I'm thinking it's solitude. Like, I'm just like, you know, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. Like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything. All I do is go to work and go home. Like, no, it wasn't that. I was isolating. I was self-isolating. I was removing myself from you, from my friends, you know, from people in my life. And eventually, you know, that led to more drowning in deep thoughts. And then I started pushing people away. You know, I had lost some friendships throughout the process too, because I wasn't communicating these things with my friends, that I'm not okay. And I think the messed up part about a lot of that is when you formulate these bonds, like trauma bonds on drinking and clubbing and stuff, it's hard to set those new boundaries with these people. Like, this isn't me anymore. I don't want this for myself. And I wasn't at a point at that time where I was like, I don't want this for myself anymore. But I knew that I was getting to a point where I'm like, this ain't me. I'm not feeling it. I'm tired of drinking. I'm tired of feeling, you know, like, depressed. And that did lead to me shutting some friends out and, you know, cutting people off, which all played into the, you know, the suicidal thing. But that's why it's so important to reach out to people. Like, don't just sit there with your thoughts and feelings. Like, people care. People do care about you. If you think that they don't, I promise you they do. Like, utilize your resources. Reach out to a therapist. Reach out to me. You know, like, call your friends, call your mom, call your boyfriend. Like, let people in, let them know, because if you don't, they won't know. Like, I don't think you knew what the severity level.
I didn't. And I think I was also not doing well at the time too, and I was, you know, kind of locking myself away too, you know. It's just like neither of us were communicating to each other. We were just like in our own worlds,
right?
Like both, you know, working opposite schedules. Like you're in your room, I'm in my room, I'm hoping everything's good. Like,
yeah, you don't know, because you, like, if you're going to work and then you're just going home crashing out for the night, you don't have that time to sit with your thoughts, you know, or to cope properly. Like, all those times that I went home after, you know, a long shift or interning or what have you, I would just go get in the shower and go right to bed. Those 3 or 4 hours, you know, that I used to sleep excessively when I didn't have to, I could have spent that time reading. I could have spent that time journaling. But, you know, I chose not to. I chose to go to sleep. But then it's like the next day, those thoughts are still there. I didn't cope with them. I didn't deal with them, you know, face value. They're still there because I chose to not handle them. I chose to shut everyone out. I chose to isolate. And that's something that I had bad. And, you know, I had to apologize to my friends that I cut off. Like, I had to let them know, like, I tried to end my life. I'm not okay. I'm sorry for, you know, abruptly cutting you out of my life. I just couldn't, you know, articulate what was going on with me, and so that you could help me, so that I could let you in. And, you know, we got through it and we moved past it. But at the end of the day with me, you know, treating people like that, they still let me know, like, okay, you know, like, I'm so sorry this happened to you, but of course, reach out, call me, like, let me know if you need something. So it's like, no matter what, people do care. Like, it's better to just, you know, to say you're not okay, or to say that you're having those kind of intrusive thoughts, than for your family or your people to be actually, like, getting together, planning your funeral arrangements. Like, that's not okay.
I also think the hardest part just about living with depression is that healing is not linear. And you could have so much progress, and then one day these thoughts just come into your head and you're like, why am I feeling this way? Why do I'm doing all of these things to feel better, and why do I not feel better? That's one of the hardest things that I think in sobriety has been for me, is that I am still depressed. Okay. You know, it's not like my mental illness just went away because I'm doing
because you're
better,
sober.
You know, and I think that that's a misconception that I had, was that I'm going to feel so much better. And I do. There are aspects of my life where I do feel better. Okay. But, you know, my mental health is still struggling, and I don't want people to have that misconception either, that this is going to be the end all to your depression.
End all be all, right.
It's helpful 100% to have those, you know, healthy coping mechanisms. Right. But for 9 years I was drinking, right? All of the trauma that I had, you know, acquired in those years that I had suppressed with the alcohol, all bubbled back up when I became sober, because I'm not suppressing it anymore. And that's something that's really hard, is now processing it in real time.
That's, like I said, trying to develop new healthy habits. Okay. So how are you like actively working through it right now at the moment?
I'm forgiving myself a lot. That's something that's been really important, is forgiving myself for the faults that I've made, as I'm human and I'm not perfect. Right. And I want to apologize to the people that I've hurt, but at the same time, that's my weight to bear, not theirs.
Of course.
You know, so I have forgiven myself for hurting other people, for hurting myself. And I know that the way that I treat people moving forward is intentional.
Of course.
And that, you know, I want to put my best foot forward.
Good, yeah. And, you know, I tell people all the time, a part of developing, you know, those new coping mechanisms and healthy habits is also reaching out to old people, old relationships, and mending those. And, you know, when I say that in therapy sessions, everybody looks at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like a part of coping and developing new habits is fixing old habits. So if there are certain relationships that are worth repairing and you jeopardized it, you have to be the one to go back and fix it. You can't just, be like, oh, okay, I'm sober, I'm clean, I cope better now, I'm healing, and just expect these people to just be, sitting by the phone. Like, no, you have to actively go out of your way, which is, it's really not going out of your way, but like you have to reach out to these people and, let them know, like, I played this role into my downfall, potentially your downfall, and I want to make it right. And like I tell my clients all the time too, and if they say no and they don't want you back in their life, they have every right
they don't
right
owe
to
you
say
anything.
no. They have every right to say no. No one has to let you back into their life just because you're doing better. Because I tell people all the time too, just in my personal life, just because you're at a specific point in your healing journey does not mean that person is too, or that they're willing to meet you there as well. So I'm really glad you said that, because I want to build and reconnect and restore certain relationships, especially when I know like I didn't have to treat people a certain way or do certain things, but then I also had to be understanding, like, they can say no. Like, you didn't have to do or say the things that you said, and if they don't want you back, Maya, then that's okay. That's something you have to live with.
I think my biggest thing too is like there are people that I hurt that I haven't necessarily reached out to because I've acknowledged that they were in my life at that period of time for a reason.
Right. Okay.
And I don't want to open wounds that they've potentially already healed.
Okay. That's a good perspective, too. I like that, because it's not just about us. It's
Exactly.
about their
It's about
feelings,
them.
too. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Okay.
And I mean, I think it really depends. Like, if you want to repair the relationship,
Right.
absolutely reach out. Absolutely, apologize for the part that you played in, hurting them or whatever the case
If it's
may
genuine.
be. If it's genuine.
Okay.
For me, a lot of the people, I feel like they were there at that time and we've moved apart. And I don't think that I would repair those relationships.
Okay.
But I am grateful that they were in my life.
Okay.
And I wish them the best. And I'm sure that they've moved on from what I've done.
Yeah, I like that. That's some good self-awareness too. And that goes back to just what I was saying about that trauma bonding. If you guys have something to bond over, you're not building a good connection with these people. It's like, okay, someone passed, or, we just had sex with XYZ, or, you drink like how I drink, so let's be besties. Let's go to the club every other weekend. We can hit each other up. That's forms of trauma bonding. And it's like, once you start your healing journey and you're on the path of sobriety and growing, it's like, okay, I gotta kind of, part ways and distance myself from you. And like you said, some of those relationships aren't worth mending because they weren't solid relationships to begin with.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do think, like certain relationships are like boyfriends, girlfriends, childhood friends. Those are definitely, you got to kind of know how to work with that.
Right.
But yeah, just people that you're probably just clubbing and partying with. I do think that some people are seasonal too. It's a good experience, a good time. Thank you for it, but like, we done. Like, on to the next chapter in life. So yeah, I'm also glad you've been having some really supportive women and people around, and just bringing them around me too, because that really helped. Like, I tell my mom and close friends, like everybody all the time, like, I'm always thanking you too. Like, I'm thanking Jazz, Jalen, like everyone, like, thank you for getting me out of my bed. My mom, like, thank you for coming here, for getting me out of my bed, for showing me that there is so much more life to live. Because, when I was going through my situation, I didn't think that there was much more to life to live. But it's like, when I was drinking, everything was fun. I could go on for days and days.
Because it's reckless.
Yeah. But once I got to sit there with those thoughts, and they eating me alive, I want to take the easy route. Yeah. I don't want to sit here and deal with this shit. I don't want to go through this. The bills are still due on the first, no matter what. These clients still need me as their therapist, no matter what. But it's like, damn, how do I tend to Maya? How do I tend to me? Like, how do I deal with these feelings that I'm feeling? And I didn't want to, so I'm like, I'm taking the easy way out. I'm done. And at that point in time, I didn't realize I was hurting the people in my life in the way that I was, because my mom and a couple other close friends would call me selfish. They're like, you're selfish as fuck. Like, if you really do this to me, to your dad, to your brothers, to the people that care about you, you're selfish. And I 100% get the point and understand people when they feel like it's not selfish, because I'm on both ends. I'm on the end of where I'm talking people through it and trying to get them to not commit, and then I'm on the end where I just try to myself. So I get how one can see that it's selfish, and then how one might not feel like it's selfish, but at the end of the day, it's just something that we really have to process and sit with ourselves, because we're not hurting ourselves, we're hurting the people in our lives.
Right.
And that's all that it was going to be. It was like, I'm done, I'm not here, I'm not feeling it, but my mom got to feel it, my dad, my grandma, the twins, everybody got to feel it but me. And so my mom and, my dad, they've been very, very helpful with giving me new ways to cope and to work through things. And I want to say 100% I would not have been able to do it if they didn't fly out here. Like, there's no way, because sometimes you need people to pick you up, like, and to get you to that point, because there was no getting out that bed, no getting out the hospital, no doing it. So I'm glad that I have had supportive people in my life.
Yeah.
You, my close friends, everyone, like, helping me just get out. And because being out in nature, going to these vision board parties, doing podcasting, fun things with you guys, that's been giving me a new way to cope.
And I think too, like, it's the little things. It really is. Like, my friend Leah came and helped me clean my room.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, she was like, Anna, this is so bad. What are you doing? And I'm like, I can't get myself to clean.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, let's do it together.
Yeah. I remember that. I was home that day. Yeah. I don't know if I just got off work or whatever it was, but I remember Leah had came over. But I think I remember, like, hearing you guys on the phone, and, like, that just made me so happy, because we need people like that. And those are good friends, good people to have in your life. That will actually come over and help you, like, pick up your room and clean, because that's stuff my mom used to do for me. I know you said, your mom used to do it. And I always say your room is a reflection of your mom.
It is.
So, when I used to live back in Chicago and I was living at my parents' house, my room was a cluster of mess, because I was just sitting in that depressive state of mind. So my room reflected how I felt. And so, I get it. Yeah, it's so easy to just let things pile up, build up. The dishes, your closet, the kitchen, your bathroom, whatever. It can get to that point, because if you can't help yourself and you can't get through a day, there's absolutely no way that you can take care of your space. You know?
Absolutely. I think my room had gotten so bad because I got my DUI 2 days after we moved into our new apartment. Mm-hmm. Like, literally just moved in. And I went out the night that I got my DUI. I went out by myself, which is something that I had never done before. And I just really feel like I had, some guides watching over me. Like, this is going to be your last time doing this. But I was so depressed after I got my DUI. I thought it was the end of the world. I was going to have to tell my parents. I had to fix my car. I had to get a lawyer, like, all this money that I didn't have. And I genuinely, like, I had been suicidal, but when that happened, I was like, there's no point. There's just no point. Like, what am I going to do now? I can't drink again. Like, and those initial thoughts I had to sit with for a while and be like, you did this. You need to accept that you did this, and you need to do better.
Right.
But, with all of those thoughts and everything, I never had the proper time to really unpack my room. And I was so depressed right after it happened. I laid in bed that whole week just crying every single day. I was like, I'm the biggest piece of shit in the world. Like, that's genuinely how I felt.
Beating yourself up.
Yes,
okay.
100%. And from that point, like, I just never really got myself together after that. Like, I was struggling so hard. And while, yes, I was sober and that was helping, I was still, everything just felt so overwhelming. And that's something, when you have anxiety, my biggest, like downfall, biggest like toxic trait is I avoid things when I'm really anxious.
Okay.
I just completely avoid it. I pretend like it's
It's
non-existent.
not there. It ain't even there.
Like,
okay.
I was supposed to call the car insurance company because somebody else might get on my policy because I never changed my address. And I'm just like, well.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, I get that. I definitely get how that can happen. But I've seen so much growth in you now, so I wouldn't have even understood the in-depth details of it until you got up here and explained it to me. Because it's one thing to be on the outside, you know, looking in, like in passing judgment in a good way, you know, like, oh, you know, she's sober, she's doing this. But I would have never thought of the other aspects of it too, like, well, I can't, you know, clean my room, I can't do this, I can't do that, because granted I'm sober, that still doesn't mean that I have the willpower to get up or to want to do these things. So exactly. I think it's important, like everybody needs to like understand and know these things, like,
and living with mental illness, like I think too, cleaning is, I know for me at least, like cleaning is a hard task. Like I'm the type of person, like especially when it comes to laundry, I'm not gonna do one load of laundry a week. I'm gonna wait until all my clothes are dirty,
pile up,
and I need to do 7 loads of laundry in a day. Like,
okay.
you
I
know.
like it. Yeah, I'm like that, girl. The basket be overflowing. My shit be on the flow. Then I'm like, oh, okay, let me take this up out of here and just go on ahead and have this thing running all day. Then I'll be like, shit, this might keep her up, but
I
gotta
know,
get done.
I know.
But,
I feel so bad when I have to do laundry.
But that's
at
okay.
night.
We push off certain tasks
Yeah.
just for, like you said, things like experiencing mental health issues. It's like you don't want to do your normal day-to-day activities.
It's so hard to get that motivation to be like. But the thing is, like, once you start, like, it's not that hard to continue, but it's that starting. Same with, like, going to the gym or anything that's, you know, like, healthy for you.
Yeah.
It's that initial starting that's so hard.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us too, we know how to cope, we know what we need to do, but it's putting that one foot forward.
Yes.
It's always that one foot forward. Or it's like it's starting it and then pushing it back. Like, okay, you know, I'm doing this. I said I'm gonna hike 3 times a week, and then I do it, and then it's like, okay, I'm pulling back from it still. I'm not doing it as much. And you know, that's something I tell my clients too. Like, don't set these expectations that you can't meet. Like, don't tell yourself like, I'm gonna go to gym, I'm gonna go do Pilates, I'm gonna do this 5 times a week, because if you know that you cannot reach those expectations for yourself, you're eventually going to beat yourself up about it. So we have to take baby steps. We have to implement these small gestures towards it. Like, okay, I'm gonna go once, I'm going to go twice. And then you can commend yourself for going once, for going twice. And then it'll gradually improve from there.
Absolutely. I think that's something that a lot of us get stuck in a cycle of, is like, you know, oh, it's the first of the month, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to read every night. And then you maybe do it one day and you're like, that was a lot. That was mentally exhausting. I'm never doing that again.
And you stop. You don't pick up those habits again. But that's the beautiful thing about coping. It's like it's never ending. Good ways to cope. You can implement these new skills, but do it in a way that works for you. Don't ever like set unrealistic expectations.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like people who go to the gym January 1st. They don't be in there by January 4th. Like, set realistic goals and expectations for yourself that you know that you can follow. And then when you reach that point, it's like, okay, I can increase it. I can get better. I can do more. And that's something that I had to learn too, especially with drinking. I'm like, I'm going to cut back. I'm going to go cold turkey. And then I didn't. And then I got right back into it. And then I'm like, okay, that doesn't work for me. So how about this? How about I limit myself to 3 or 4? And yes, y'all, I'm saying 3 or 4. I was like, so I went from 3 to 4, and then my body is rejecting it. I'm still throwing it up. I'm still not liking it. And then now it got to a point where, you know, it was 2 or 1. And now where I'm at officially now, like current day in my life, Celebrations, just celebrations.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing, you have to set realistic expectations for yourself, else you're not going to meet the ones that you have in your head, and you cannot do it because someone else is doing it. Like, you have to
Right.
have your own goals.
It has to be for you.
It has to be for you.
Nobody else. And
Nobody
that's
else.
something that, you know, with my sobriety too, like, this is fully for me, no one else.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone else does around me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know. And a lot of people are like, oh, like, don't people pressure you? And, you know, oh, just take a shot. And I'm like, yeah, people do, but I don't give a fuck.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for me.
Right.
And nobody else matters.
Right. And your dad is sober too, right?
He is.
Okay.
He is 29 years sober.
Nice. Okay. So, like, how's the conversations been with him about
Good.
the sobriety?
We relate on a lot of levels. I think it is nice now. I mean, we have social media. There's a way larger sober community now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when my dad was quitting, they had like one non-alcoholic beer.
Okay.
You know, now there's so many. There's even sober like bars and stuff
Mocktails.
opening up.
You
Mocktails.
got yeah.
So like, you have a lot more options now than there used to be.
So it's not end all be all, not the end of the world.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, and I just don't even miss it.
Okay.
I just really don't. I mean, there are certain aspects that I'm like, oh, you know, like, I miss that sort of like carefree vibe that I had. But at the same time, when I'm at the club, I care less now what people think of me than I did when I was drinking.
Okay.
Like, I can get up on top of that table and dance, you
Wow.
know, and I do not
Okay.
care. Like,
Yeah, but it's so crazy. It's like we needed alcohol to do that. And then I've noticed too, with me not completely just going into sobriety, but pulling back from alcohol, when I first pulled back from alcohol, and I think we had talked about this before too, like just going into Walmart, going into the stores, you get so nervous and anxious, you know, with being around people. But it's like, I'm not used to functioning in this high level intensity mode right now. Like, I'm used to being in big settings and social settings drunk or tipsy.
Right.
So now that I'm working towards my sobriety and, you know, I'm cutting back on alcohol, I can't even go to the mall or, you know, to a store. I'm like, I'm ready to go. Like, I don't even want to be in here anymore. But that's just like, that's because we're learning, you know, relearning ourselves. And it's also a portion too of it where it's like, okay, you function in high level settings with alcohol. Now let's see how you do without it. So
yeah.
it's been crazy, but I'm glad you've been enjoying it. I would like to get there at a point, you know, like fully sober. I'm very proud that I'm not where I was or where we were a year ago.
Yes.
Like, there's no way I would have envisioned this for us. And like I said, it's not for everybody. Like, drink, have fun, get fucked up, do what you want to do, live your life. But you have to do what works for you too. And, you know, like Anna had, you know, the DUI, my suicidal stuff. Like, it's just, you'll eventually get to a point, and I say this with men too, because people ask me, like, how did you stop? How do you quit? You're going to get to a point where you keep doing it until you hate it. You're going to keep doing it until you hate it.
Absolutely. At a certain point, you just have to look at yourself, look at your actions. And I mean, like I said before, you know, don't try to do everything at once. Don't try to cut out all your bad coping skills at once. Don't try to, you know, stop having sex, stop doing drugs, stop drinking, because it's not going to work. It took me a while, even after I stopped drinking, to stop having sex. But at a certain point, I was like, I'm not gaining anything from this anymore. I'm waking up and I feel like shit now. I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And now that I was sober, I was just like, I don't find these men attractive for real. But it took me a while to get out of that too, because like I couldn't just stop everything all at once.
Right. So it didn't all just stop. Like, okay, I'm done with alcohol, but now I'm done with this. Okay.
Exactly.
It takes time.
It's gradual.
Okay.
You know, it's one of those things. Just with anything, start slow, like you said. Like, just stopping drinking, I started initially when I stopped, I was going to the gym a lot, and I mean I kind of fell off on that, but
It's okay. It happens to the best of us.
I was going to the gym a lot, and I was, like I replaced it with healthy things, but at the same time, you should get to a point where you don't feel like you need to replace it necessarily, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't feel like I need to do anything to replace it. And, people ask me all the time, like, oh, do you smoke weed? And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm literally fully sober. I'm raw dogging life.
Yeah, it's like, can you hang with me without the drugs
right,
or no?
Right.
Like, are you going to come up with something else for us to do?
I actually just had a man tell me that he was turned off by me because I don't drink. And I was like,
okay.
All right,
the bullet with your ass.
Yeah, I'm like, do you want to unpack that? Or do you got a problem with alcohol and you're uncomfortable that I am sober?
And that's what it is, too. I think a lot of people are uncomfortable being around someone who's sober. And, it's one thing to be mindful because, I had asked you at a point in time, too, like, do you want me to, like, remove the wine bottles, the alcohol? And you're like, no, it's okay. It's fine. But people get uncomfortable because I noticed that when I would tell people just on my detox periods, like, oh, I'm not drinking. Oh, okay, well, we can hang when you start back. And it's like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you? What do you mean we can hang when I start back? Like, do you not want to see me? Like, I don't get it.
Right, do you not actually like the real me?
The real me, yeah. And that trauma bonding. You wanna have something to talk to me about over drinks. And it's like, talk to me for real. Talk to me without it. Get to know me without it. So yeah, it's just like we said, weeding through those relationships, just figuring out what you want, what works for you.
And when you're deep in it and you're doing it with, whoever you're around at the time, you're all just like encouraging each other to your bad habits because you're doing it together. So it doesn't feel as wrong or as bad.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Like with my friendships, that I kind of had just let go without letting them know what was going on in my life. It was more so to say like, we got friends dying. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on. We got 1,000,001 things to drink, over. But it's like, damn, what do we have to celebrate in a good way too? But it's like, yeah, when you're surrounded by that and you're around people that's like that, everyone feeding each other's bad habits. Because I was like that too.
Yeah.
I want to say I was the main one out of my friend group feeding into our bad ways. I was the primary drinker. I'm like, basement parties, bottles on deck, come through. So I can never sit here and fault the people that I previously had in my life for a lot of our situations and things that we've endured because I fed into that. I contributed to that a lot. It was primarily me. So I also have to hold myself accountable too. Like, granted, you were fucked up. You was doing these drugs. You had what you going on. But and yes, you're grown as fuck. You picked that bottle up. But I put it in your face too. Like I had it here. I provided it. Yeah. And a year ago, I wouldn't have been this accountable. I would have been like, I ain't tell you to pick that shit up. You drank on your own. You did that on your own.
Yeah.
But I have to understand how I play into people's downfall too. And being in this position that I'm in, I have to hold myself accountable. So it's like, I did this. I understand my role in it. And, like back to us mending relationships, if I ever choose to mend certain relationships, I just would want people to, to understand their role too. And that just goes for anybody. Like you have to understand the role that you play in people's downfall and vice versa.
And that's the hard part too, is like you said, just because you're at a certain point in healing doesn't mean that they are. They probably haven't looked at themselves yet and said, okay, this is how I contributed to this.
Yeah.
When you can, and that's hard. That's the hard thing about being self-aware too. It is really hard being self-aware.
Yes.
Last year, this time, I was planning my days off to be hungover.
Wow.
Like, okay. I was like, okay, I have Thursday off. Let's get absolutely blasted on Wednesday night.
Okay.
And then Thursday, I have the day off so I can sit in bed and be hungover and order DoorDash.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of money I have saved.
Yeah.
And another thing is just, like, bad habits kind of leave when you choose to do better for yourself. I don't really eat that unhealthy anymore because I'm not shit-faced. Like,
Right,
I'm not
yeah.
like, let's go eat pizza at 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Or our little speedy taco
Yes,
runs,
Speedy
2 in the morning.
Street.
Yeah, we used to go get tacos at 3, 4 in the morning,
man.
literally passed out on these people's sidewalk. And I know they used to look at us like, here go these drunk bitches again.
Okay,
like,
shout out to Speedy though.
Shout out to Speedy's though. No free promo. No free promo, but y'all got some good tacos. But yeah, we used to do shit like that. Like get fucked up and then go grab some food and then like wake up feeling shitty. And then like I said, I would get anxiety blues. So I would be so sad and depressed and mad at myself and thinking everybody was mad at me from the night out from drinking.
See,
It's
I wish I
crazy.
would have had that. I wish I would have had that, like, oh, I wonder what I did last night.
Okay.
Instead, I'd just be like, well, if I did something,
I
did some.
it. And that's the I love that. Like it's two ends of it. It's like, what did I do? Did I hurt anyone? Did I make anyone upset? And then it's that I don't give a fuck. We, like whatever. If it happened, it happened. So it's good to experience that and also have that good self-awareness too, and the in that role that we play for ourselves and our downfall with drinking too. So
I've actually had quite a few people reach out to me because I've been very open on my Instagram about my journey of being sober, and I've had quite a few people reach out and be like, you've inspired me to want to be sober.
I love it.
And I have a couple close friends who are like, every time I drink, like I just don't feel good. Like it just doesn't benefit me in any way. And I'm like, well,
you gonna do it till you hate it.
Yeah. If you want to be sober, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
If you want to continue to drink, I'm still here
I'm
for you.
here for you either way. My journey is my journey. Your journey is your journey.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. Well, thank you, Anna. I really appreciate you sharing and opening up and sharing that specific aspect of your life, because I know it's tough. I know it's not ideal to have a DUI, to experience these different changes and things in life, especially at such a young age. So, I really appreciate and commend you for getting up here and being able to even talk about that and talk about sobriety and just bad habits and things that you've done just to contribute to a not so greater version of you and a better version too. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
Thank you.